Today's upcycling project is working on this lamp. This has been in my bedroom, previously blue, as you can see, and I want to change it to my new colour scheme, which is olive green. So I am going to put 2 coats of paint onto the lampshade to cover up that blue, and then I'm going to inlay it with the Orchid Designs inlays. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm also going to change the base. I'm going to make that look a little bit goldy to go with my theme. And hopefully you can follow along the process and see how I get on. Right, the second coat is now on the lampshade. It's actually made it, it's still wet, but it's actually made it look sort of quite velvety. There's still loads to do to the shade, but anyway, the base coats are now done. You can see that I have now changed the base to gold, and this is what I'm using, the European Gold Rub and Buff. It gives a nice metallic wax finish, but once it's dry you can buff it up. And yeah, I've done the whatever that's called underneath the lamp as well. So yeah, it's getting there. The Orchid Designs Paint Inlays, which I'm a stockist for here in the UK. This one's called Grisaille Toile. It's got the right sort of colourways for what I'm doing in our revamp. These are all the designs. It's real paint on these sheets. So we inlay that into either wet paint or a top coat. So I'm going to be using the wet paint to inlay these sheets into. That might sound a bit confusing, but hopefully you can follow along the process and see how easy it is. Yes, I just need to decide how I'm going to lay these out onto my lampshade. So now I have put a wet coat of paint onto the lampshade, ready to put the inlay on. Okay, so before you lay your first piece onto the wet paint, it's a good idea just to spritz the paper slightly. It just helps release the fibres and makes it a little bit more manageable to, especially when you're applying it onto a bit of a conical surface like this. So I've pushed it down with my hands, and now I'm actually using a brayer to help press that design, the paint on the design, into the wet paint on the lampshade. These brayers are great for helping you get that nice sort of flat, even finish. You just work in sections, so one piece at a time, get this all onto the lampshade, and then you can move on to your next section. So that's now on that first piece. I've actually trimmed off around the bottom just to make it easier to manoeuvre. But you can get a rough idea of how the design will look. I'm going to be honest, it's not easy doing it on this conical shape. But anyway, so the next one now is going to go there. So I'll get the paint on, line up the next piece, and just repeat the process again. I have just spritzed over the top of this paper. That helps release the actual paint from the design into the wet paint that I've put on here. So we now let that completely dry, and then I'll show you how to release the paper and leave the impression on there. Okay, so it's on. I've cut the sheets up into the design that I want for the lampshade. So you can see I've got bits coming in here and then starting again there, rather than having a whole sheet going one way down like that. So yeah, I've basically made it into a pattern that I want, and that's the beauty of inlays, that you can do that. You don't have to use them as they are laid out on the sheet. You can cut them up and create your own designs. So I'm now going to let that dry, and then I'll come back and show you the next stage. Okay, right, so it's dry now, so I'm going to now remove it. To do that, you need to spritz the paper again and then pull it away, and then hopefully these designs have been left on there. That's the plan. Right. And then the idea is that you can reuse these, so we'll let them dry out, and then there's still enough paint on the paper to use it again, and you can get 2 or 3 uses out of them. Let me just get that right across the top there.
Like the way you're spraying an electrical device with water.
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's not plugged in. There we go. So,
as if by magic.
use that a bit more. Ta-da! Okay, so there you see. See, that could be fabric, but obviously it isn't. And it's also could be hand painted. And that's the effect that you're going for. Yeah, really pleased with that. So here we go, here's my finished lamp. As you can see, I have put a band of the gold around the base of the lampshade to tie that in. And also I have sealed the inlay. It's really important that you do that because the paint will remain active until it's sealed. The best way is to do a 50-50 mix with water of your normal sealer. Spritz that on, let that dry, and then you can put a full fat layer of your sealer over the top. You can use wax as well if you want, and I've also found a pastel fixative spray which works really well with the inlays. Give it a go. These inlays are brilliant for creating your own unique home decor, and they're really easy to use.